Welcome back to the third and final module of Managing Operations, Occupational Health and Safety. Today we're going to be looking at how to apply health and safety to your working area. And these are the module outcomes that we're going to be looking at. Firstly, how to identify any potential hazards in your work area, and then also to limit damage to persons or property in the case of an emergency, illness or injury. Health and safety issues in the workplace are very important to all businesses, either large or small. Your employees obviously have the right to work in safe conditions, but it's also important that you offer them this type of work environment. Failure to adhere to the health and safety laws of a country can result in personal injury, disease, or any general poor health. Identify potential hazards in your working area. Occupational health and safety obviously is concerned with protecting the safety, health, and welfare of people engaged in work or employment. The enjoyment of these standards at the highest level is a basic human right that should be accessible by each and every worker. Regardless of the nature of their work, workers should be able to carry out the responsibilities in a safe but secure work environment free from hazards. Ensuring that all statutory requirements are being met. Your statutory requirements are those requirements which are applicable by virtue of law, which is enacted by the government. These are enacted by passing the law in the Legislative Assembly or Parliament. Statutory requirements would include current national regulations applicable to construction, including acts and regulations, ordinances, bylaws, directives, as well as standards. The Occupational Health and Safety Act 85 and 93, as amended by the Occupational Health and Safety Act of 181 of 1993. This is the current health and safety regulations that govern the health and safety in South Africa. The aim of the OHS Act is to provide for the health or the safety and health of persons at work, but also in connection with the use of plant and machinery. It further provides for the protection of people other than the people at work from hazards arising out of or in connection with the activities from people at work. Identifying, remove, reduce, or reporting potential hazards. It is important to identify any hazards in the workplace, assess the associated risks, and then take appropriate action steps to remove or minimize them. For example, unsafe conditions could be disorderly or messy work areas, overcrowded workspace, poor ventilation, or faulty equipment. Unsafe acts. Working without safety equipment or protective clothing, working without corrective skills or knowledge, working in a dangerous area, working in a rush, doing unauthorized work, working with items unsecured, leaving items standing in an unsafe place, working on moving machinery, and then fooling around or taking chances. Identify the hazards. One of the most important aspects of your risk assessment is actually identifying the potential hazards in your workplace. A good starting point is to walk around your workplace and think about any hazards. In other words, what is it about the activities, process, or substances that are used that could actually injure your employees or harm their health? The removal or reducing of the potential hazards. Having identified the hazards, you then have to decide how likely it is that the harm will occur. That is, what is the level of risk and what to do about it. The risk is a part of everyday life, and you are not expected to eliminate all the risks. What you must do is to make sure you know about the main risks and the things that you need to do to manage them responsibly. Understand the implications of exposure to hazardous substances and hazards. Exposure to chemicals commonly used in workplaces can lead to a variety of short and long-term health effects, such as poisoning, skin rashes, and disorders of the lung, kidney, and liver. Many employees regularly use hazardous substances such as chemicals, flammable liquids, and gases in their day-to-day work. A hazardous substance can take many forms like gas, powder, liquid, solid, or dust. The product may be pure or diluted, could be acids or even glues. Now, to identify what protective clothing requirements are used and protective clothing. PPE is equipment worn by a worker to minimize exposure to specific occupational hazards. The examples of PPE include respirators, gloves, aprons, fall protection, full body suits, as well as head, eye, and foot protection. Personal protection equipment includes items such as respirators, protective clothing such as gloves, face shields, eye protection, and footwear that serve to provide a barrier between the wearer and the chemical or material. And here are examples of some of the types of PPE that we actually have. There you can see respiratory protection, hearing protection, pelvic communications, eye protection, speed glass, welding safety products, detection instrumentation, safety helmets and visors, as well as coveralls. PPE types is specialized clothing or equipment that has been designed to protect your body from being hurt whilst carrying out your tasks at work. From wearing long sleeve shirts, long trousers, overalls, aprons, chemical gloves or rubber gloves, latex gloves, leather work gloves, steel capped work boots, dust masks, face shield, safety glasses, as well as ear muffs or earplugs. Drawing up a health and safety plan. A health and safety plan is a plan for a workplace that is designed in accordance with the legislative requirements covering the roles and responsibilities of staff and the emergency action plan. A health and safety plan is designed to serve and protect the individuals affected by the organization in all matters of health, well-being, and safety. For the health and safety plan, what must we do? Systematically need to manage health and safety in the workplace, including staff in developing your workplace health and safety measures, maintain an accident and incident register, identify hazards that eliminate, isolate, or minimize them. Here's a health and safety cycle. Firstly, you do a review, then you plan, and then take action. And there are the different types of actions that you can take place in terms of managing of the different hazards. Please complete class activity 5 in your workbook. Limiting damage to persons or property in the case of an emergency, illness, or injury. A workplace emergency is an unforeseen situation that would threaten your employees, customers, or the public. It could disrupt or even shut down your operations. It could cause physical but also environmental damage. Emergencies would be natural or even man-made. These can include such things as fire, fuel spillage, as well as gas leaks. Recognizing an emergency obviously is the first step in responding. An emergency is a situation requiring immediate action. A medical emergency is a sudden illness such as a heart attack, which requires immediate medical attention, whereas an injury is damage to the body, such as broken arm, which results from maybe a violent force. Unusual noises. Noises are often the first thing that you may call your attention to in an emergency. Some noises that may indicate emergencies are noises that indicate someone is in distress, such as screaming, yelling, moaning, crying, or calling for help. Alarming identifiable noises, such as breaking glass, crashing metal, or screeching tires. Abrupt or loud noises that isn't identifiable, such as collapsing structures or even falling ladders. Unusual sights. Unusual sights that indicate a possible emergency can go unnoticed by the unaware observer. Some examples of sights that could signal emergencies is, for example, a stalled vehicle, an overturned saucepan on a kitchen floor, a spilled medicine container, or even a fallen chair. Unusual smells. Many smells are part of our everyday life. For example, petrol fumes at petrol stations, the smell of chlorine at swimming pools, or smoke from a fryer. However, when smell is stronger than usual, it is not easily identifiable or otherwise seems odd. It could also be an indication that there is in fact an emergency. Unusual symptoms or signs of behavior. It may be difficult to tell if someone's appearance or behavior is unusual, particularly when the person is a stranger. However, certain symptoms and signs or behaviors could indicate emergency. For example, breathing difficulty, a person clutching their chest or throat, slurred, confused, or even hesitant speech, confused or irritable behavior, sweating with no apparent reason, or uncharacteristic skin color, flushed or bluish skin. Now, to identify the location of fire extinguishers, hoses, and alarms. It is important to educate your employees on your building's fire escape plans. Explain the best possible way to exit the building, which exits are closest to them, and where the alternative exits are located. Then decide on a place for your staff to meet once everyone has exited the building. Hold a practice fire drill at least once a year, and go over the procedures with new employees between the annual drills. Identify and use different fire extinguishers. Fire extinguishers are cylinders containing a pressurized substance which shoots out in a jet form. This may contain powder, water, foam, or even carbon dioxide. Many people are unaware of the different types of fire extinguishers which can be used on different types of fires. Using the extinguisher correctly, use the following process called PASS. PASS stands for pull the pin, aim, squeeze, and sweep. This is the correct way to actually use a fire extinguisher. Firstly, you pull the pin at the top of the extinguisher, aim at the base of the fire, not the flames. Squeeze the lever slowly. This will release the extinguishing agent in the extinguisher. If the handle is released, the discharge will stop. Then sweep from side to side. Using a sweeping motion, you move the fire extinguisher back and forth until the fire is completely out. Operate the extinguisher from a safe distance, several meters away, and then move towards the fire once it starts to diminish. And there is an example of what it looks like to use PASS. Demonstrate the procedures for reporting and recording of illness or injury in a working area. Under the OHS Act, you need to keep a record of accidents and injuries that happen at work. All workers must report all accidents or diseases to their employers immediately, but also submit forms from their doctor. Employers then must send the necessary forms with the doctor's report to the compensation fund when accidents occur. A notice of an accident and claim for compensation which must be completed by a worker or on their behalf. Workman compensation procedures, please read pages 104 and 105 in your learner guide for more information. Reporting injuries involving individuals promptly to the relevant persons. There must be a process put in place to actually report accidents, injuries, incidents, or near misses for immediate action, but also to help track causes. The organization needs to identify what needs to be reported, to whom it is to be reported, and how to report it, then put this process into written procedure. The reporting process. In the event of an injury, the person or persons involved first seek first aid or medical attention as required. Inform the supervisor as soon as possible. Assist the supervisor in the investigation, but also reporting of the incident or accident. The supervisor of the person involved in the incident is then required to ensure that any injured person is promptly attended to, conduct an initial investigation into what was the cause of the actual incident. Then complete an accident and incident register and ensure that it reaches the Health and Safety Department within 5 working days. Write an incident report and send to Health and Safety Representative and the HR department for record keeping on the staff member's personal file. Then to notify and liaise with the local health and safety representative and line management in relation to the incident. Also ensure that all serious injuries are reported to Compensation Commissioner. Now the following procedures if an injury may lead to a claim against workman's compensation. You can file a claim for workman's compensation benefits as soon as a worker becomes injured on the job or develop an illness that is related to their work. Delaying filing for workman's compensation benefits after they become sick or injured can pose a distinct disadvantage and potentially allow a workers' compensation insurance carrier to actually deny a worker compensation benefits. Reporting the accident steps. Step 1, you need to fill in the form. Step 2, you need to get the form to the doctor. Step 3, send the forms to the compensation fund. Step 4, pay compensation to the worker. And step 5, send follow-up forms. Now the claiming part. The Compensation for Occupational Injuries and Disease Act gives workers a right to claim compensation if they were injured or go ill at work. These are the steps. They first need to fill in the form, get the forms from the doctor, and then keep in touch with the actual employer. Write in a brief incident report and deliver it to the relevant authority. Reporting an incident is an important part of an effective occupational health and safety program. It will help identify work-related health and safety hazards, risks, and dangers. The purpose is to identify the cause of incidents. Please read pages 109 and 110 for further information in your learner guide. Please complete class activity 6 in your workbook, and please complete your portfolio of evidence. Thank you.